June 22nd, 2011, Madera County, California, a head-on collision involving a 4x4 truck and passenger car stops traffic on Highway 41. Several motorists run to give aid. One of them was then 62-year-old Vietnam War vet Bob Anthony, who ran to the car.
Thought I found a rock, broke out the windows because I could see there was people in there.
In the back seat were a 4-year-old girl and an infant still strapped in a car seat. The driver, 28-year-old Brittany Gilchrist, was pinned under the dashboard, unconscious. Smoke was filling the car.
I was yelling at everybody, we got to get him out of here, because when I got a whiff of that smoke, it knocked my feet. I didn't want her to die.
A couple of men got the children out, while Bob and others pulled Brittany from the wreckage. Seconds later, the car burst into flames. Motorist Brenda Harris was sitting in the gridlocked traffic just a few cars away.
I could see, in the distance, the fire, and I need to start praying because that's what I do when I see a wreck. Lord God, I just want to intercede for these people involved in this accident. I pray for whoever it is that you save them, protect them, and give them life.
When EMS took over, they determined Brittany was bleeding internally, had multiple fractures, and in critical condition. Her daughters, with non-life-threatening injuries, were taken to a nearby hospital. The driver of the truck was uninjured. Meanwhile, Sky Life arrived to take Brittany to Community Regional Medical Center in Fresno. On flight, she coded twice. Brittany's husband Mark arrived about the same time the chopper landed. He saw his wife of 5 years hooked up to a ventilator before she was taken to emergency surgery.
She wasn't really conscious. She was kind of moving a little bit, but she wasn't aware of anything that was going on. Seeing her like that, it really just says, oh my gosh, she might die. So it was just overwhelming. And then I went back in the room and I just broke down. I think at that moment I do remember playing, and I was just said, please don't take her. Just whatever has to happen, just please don't take her.
Brittany would need 2 surgeries to repair her legs that were broken in several places. Their main concern, though, was the massive neck trauma she sustained and whether she'd broken her spinal cord.
But there was so much left uncertain that we couldn't be sure of anything. So it was a matter of yes, she's out of being in the extremely critical situation where she might die at any moment, to then the surgery, to then, is her spine in it? Is she gonna walk again?
As for their daughters, they had been taken to Valley Children's Hospital. 4-year-old Cambria had 2 broken arms and would stay in the hospital for 2 months. 5-week-old Shaylin had only a few cuts and was sent home with relatives. Meanwhile, people began to pray for Brittany. Among them was the motorist Brenda, who had never stopped.
I didn't know who that person was. At that time. And then 2 days later when I went to work, I heard it was Brittany, the nurse I work with. And I put her on prayer list at our church, and I also have a group of friends in Bible study and asked them to pray because she was very close to death.
Finally, an MRI confirmed there was no spinal fracture, and her neck would heal in time. Still, doctors weren't sure she'd walk again. In and out of consciousness, Brittany was taken off the vent.
It was just so hard, and I knew deep down, even though I couldn't remember, I knew how severe it was. I knew that we were here for a reason, that God spared our lives. And actually that's my first thought or memory, not necessarily of a place, but was a feeling, was that God had us, that we were alive for a reason, and that he was going to take care of us. And that's really where that peace, came from.
Over the course of more than a year, Brittany had 2 more surgeries and continued rehab. She finally walked on her own, returned to her nursing career, and today continues to see healing.
There's days that it's rough, where I'll do a few things and then I have to pay for it a couple days afterwards, but there's been improvement. The Lord has given strength in it, and then, not every bit has been healed, but he has in chunks, as he wills and as he, what he has for us. You know, we're like, okay, Lord, whatever you have, your will be done. And he's done that.
Bob Anthony and 2 others were later honored with the American Red Cross Real Hero Award for their efforts. He and the family are grateful God's hands were on them all that day and for the prayers that has sustained them.
From the grace of God, we were all there and we were able to help.
I'm thankful I was there that day too. It was just amazing.
Look back on it and I said, God was there.
They said I wouldn't walk again. I wouldn't be a nurse, you know, but although they said the accident was unsurvivable too. And we're here. So, you know, with God, all things are possible.